following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net. Well, here's some bonus breaking news. I'm joined with John Schweppe, Republican, which is important to note because of what we're going to talk about here. I'm going to call him today Jonye West. Jonye, how's it going, man?
I am doing fantastic, Dan. Absolutely fantastic. The world is just wonderful. It's sunny outside. Everything's great.
So I'm assuming you're fantastic just solely based off the weather, correct?
The weather and Kanye West, my main man, Kanye West, is wearing the Make America Great Again hat. We are brothers in arms, and it is just a wonderful, wonderful day.
All right. Don't oversell too much, but get into what we're here to talk about. Kanye West, as some people seem to think, he came out of the closet in the last 48 hours. So just give like a little bit of brief history on this story and what's been going on with Kanye and his Twitter.
Sure. So a couple days ago, a conservative activist, an African-American female, Candace Owens, she works as like a communications director at Turning Point USA, which is this kind of college-oriented conservative group. So she came out, and there was a viral video with her in it where she was addressing Black Lives Matter protesters and was basically saying, we need to have a victor mentality, not a victim mentality, kind of talking about why the, worrying about the hierarchy of oppression was bad. Mm-hmm. And it was really, pretty cool argument from her, and it went viral.
Reasonable.
And then what ended with, yeah. And, these things happen all the time, right? Like you can, Ben Shapiro talking about something or Jordan Peterson talking about something, goes viral.
White guy, go on.
Right. But this was significant, not just because she was a black woman, but because Kanye West, who is, not just a rapper, he's honestly a cultural icon. And he came out.
Would you say God? Would you say he's a god?
I would not say he's a god. We'll get into that. But actually, like, my issues with Kanye were always related to the Jesus imagery, which I didn't like. But no, I mean, he came out and he validated what she was saying. He actually had a tweet, and it was like, I really like how Candace Owens thinks, or something like that. And all of a sudden people were like, whoa, Kanye, dude, you can't be
Jesus forbid.
Yeah, they were calling her alt-right, which I thought was hilarious, which is what they tend to do these days. And saying, no, you can't get into bed with that. And what ended up happening usually in situations like this, where, like with Shania Twain, right? Shania Twain had last week came out in an article and said, I like the way Trump talked to people. Like, he really spoke to the people. Like, I think I would have voted for him if I was American. And she ended up getting savaged on Twitter, and all these left-wing activists were like, Shania, no. And then she recanted fully and was like, oh, I'm sorry, Trump, I would never stand with him. Like, he's a bigot, racist, blah, 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 blah.
So total backpedal, like complete right. 180.
And that's what typically happens, right? So with Kanye
for the sake of the career,
out,
and that even goes back to even the Dixie Chicks calling W out.
Right. Well, I mean, what they had to do, the issue is, I think it's more true today than it was then, but sure. Hollywood and the entertainment industry are such a monolith. Like, it is career suicide to actually go out and break from that monolith. How many celebrities are out there saying, you know what, I'm not on board with gay marriage.
Right.
Or I'm pro-life. Like, very, very few. And it's because they'll face repercussions
because they're obviously Nazis and bigots.
Right. And so in comes Kanye.
And one thing we know about Nazis and bigots is they like to keep their mouths shut. Right? Anyway, go on.
So, in comes Kanye, and Kanye West is in a unique position where he's revered by millions of fans, and he's, one would argue, maybe bigger than the entertainment industry itself. He has his own following.
Would you say he's bigger than Jesus?
I would not say he's. I would say he's Jesus. I would not say he's bigger than Jesus. And so look, he was able to come out and kind of say this, and then it's kind of evolved into something else. So now, when usually celebrities kind of walk it back and apologize and all that, he has doubled down to an incredible degree. Mm-hmm. He's posting pictures of his Make America Great Again hat. He's talking about how, the modern progressive left can't tolerate dissent, can't tolerate different ideas.
Right.
And I mean, he's taking on the entire, what I would call progressive totalitarian mindset.
Right. What was his tweet about the thought police? I don't remember the direct quote, but it was a great one.
I don't have the exact tweets in front of me, but that general mindset, like all of them are going after the same idea, which I think is actually one of the most pervasive issues in politics today, where I would say the left is becoming almost fascist in the way that they reject other ideas. If they disagree with something, you are a Nazi who has to be completely rejected from the main, from modern discourse. And but what is a Nazi? Like now, you're a Nazi if you think maybe we should cut taxes. So I mean, like that's just kind of where it's at. So I just think it's a significant. I know everyone's like, oh, it's Twitter, oh, it's Kanye West, who cares? But I think this is a really significant cultural moment, not just because it's Kanye West and he has a big following, but because of what it represents. And I think a lot of people are aware that Democrats kind of take black votes for granted. Mm-hmm. And take black people for granted, honestly. And they just spew the rhetoric that, Republicans are racist, and they assume that they'll just have the black vote in their pockets. And I think when you have Kanye come out and say, like, we think we need to think for ourselves. You had Chance the Rapper, who's a hardcore left-wing activist, mm-hmm. But he agreed in part with what Kanye said and said, Democrat or black people don't have to vote for Democrats.
Right.
It is like a significant thing that I think is going to be impressionable on a lot of black youth. And so you have, I would say, a kind of disagreement between like establishment Democrats, establishment black voices, mm-hmm. and then you have a couple of these entertainers coming out and saying, no, we don't have to be like that. So it's a significant moment. And I think it's great. My big thing, I don't need Kanye to be pro-life or to be a Republican. I don't need that. But I think for him to say, we need to be open to more of these ideas.
Just
and
for somebody to say no a little bit, like stop, just chill. And it sucks that, like, I'm not a Trump supporter by most stretches, but still I see this as like a win in a way for like freedom of speech, because he's just saying, you're wrong about some things, just deal with that, and I don't have to agree with you, get over it. And the fact that he has to wear a MAGA hat for people to actually listen to him and see that he's disagreeing with them, again, not a Trump supporter, but I'm fine with him. I think that he should do it, because you got to go to those extremes for people to be like, okay, wait, what's going on here?
Well, and his overarching point, if you read down his Twitter timeline, like what he's trying to say is that we need to have love for each other. And I think that's something, we talked about this on the Tripartisan Triggering mm-hmm. Podcast, but like the biggest problem right now in politics, from my point of view, is that we literally hate each other. Both sides of the aisle, like, actually hate each other, where, if I think a certain way, like if I'm pro-life, I'm not pro-life. I don't have a differing opinion on whether it's a baby or not. I'm anti-women and misogynistic.
Right.
That's where the dialogue has gone. It's really poisonous. And so, I think what he's talking about is really great. I don't know if Kanye can change the world himself, but I just think it's really good. It's really good for our discourse. It makes me happy. And honestly, and I know we're just only focusing on Kanye, but honestly, given some of the
this is the Kanye report. It's all right.
But given some of the really like tough to swallow news of the last 48, 72 hours, like some of the crazy things that are happening in Europe right now, it's just nice having this and nice having some hopeful stuff. And I just want to touch on Kanye. I am not a Kanye fan.
I'm a Kanye fan and not a Trump fan. You're a Trump fan and not a Kanye fan.
Right. Well, I think he's very talented. We used to, in senior year of high school, would walk up and down the hallways singing Gold Digger.
Yep.
That was fun. But
did you use all the words?
No, I definitely did the made for radio version. Um, you broke, I believe it was. But
Sure.
no, I mean, I think it's really good, man. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So I've been tweeting a lot of like Kanye 2024 and all these different things. But.
Yeah, even if he was just like playing devil's advocate, like what are you gonna do if I say you're wrong? Does that make me a racist as a black celebrity? Like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, and there's a lot of people coming out saying, it's just another Kanye stunt, it's a publicity stunt or whatever. But back at the in the early Trump days, even I think when he was running, even Kanye was coming out supporting Trump, like not this blatantly, but he'd had his rant and his quote unquote mental breakdown on stage where he was ranting about Trump. Is this any different than that to you?
I think it is. I mean, it's just significant because this is more, I don't think this is focusing on Trump the person, which I know that's rare in our discourse. Everything's always focused on,
Right.
Do we support Trump? Do we oppose Trump as a person? I don't think that that's what this really is. He's more talking about the open discourse of ideas and whether it's acceptable to disagree with someone that you love. And that's the overall. There's actually a really interesting conversation. I'm just going to get to it real quick. He posted, so John Legend texted Kanye, and I guess they're really close.
Mm-hmm.
And and Kanye posted the text. I don't think he asked John Legend to post them. So John Legend texts him, and John Legend is a left-wing activist.
Mm-hmm.
And he posts him, says, "Hey, it's JL. I hope you'll reconsider aligning yourself with Trump. You're way too powerful and influential to endorse who he is and what he stands for. As you know, what you say really means something to your fans. They're loyal to you and respect your opinion. So many people who love you feel so betrayed right now because they know the harm that Trump's policies cause, especially to people of color. Don't let this be part of your legacy. You're the greatest artist of our generation." So that's John Legend to Kanye. Kanye texts back, "I love you, John, and I appreciate your
He's
thoughts."
really speaking Kanye's language there. You're the greatest
Yeah.
artist of our generation. You're
Oh,
a
yeah,
god, man. You gotta know know your place as a god, which is funny.
And this is what's brilliant about Kanye's response. Kanye says, "I love you, John, and I appreciate your thoughts. You bringing up my fans or my legacy is a tactic based on fear used to manipulate my free thought."
Ew.
And then Legend comes back with, this is a later post. "Think freely, think with empathy and context too. Your words and actions have consequences. Much love. And since you're posting texts, let me add that I have a new single out. Ha ha ha."
That's awesome.
It was
At least he's aware that he's posting.
Yeah, it's like the rare feud where both of them come out looking pretty good. But,
right. Yeah, John Legend's thing
So,
is totally
just
totally
think
based
it's,
out of fear. It's totally like
interesting.
a media tactic. Like, dude, you've got so much pull. Don't go down like this, man. Don't. It's like, screw you. I'll go down how I want to. I'm Kanye freaking West.
Well, we see that. Look, I think that there is quite the left has such control over our discourse. Like, think about this. Like, if you're talking publicly and you're a pretty hardcore conservative right now, you always preface by saying, now, I'm not like, oh, I support gay marriage, or, oh, I'm not one of these anti-immigrant. Like, you always have to kind of moderate yourself to
Right. I said
make
a couple
yourself sound
times already,
reasonable.
I'm not a Trump supporter, but
Right,
just so you guys know.
right. It's kind of like an appeal to hey, I'm reasonable. Like, you can trust what I have to say.
Right.
And Kanye is not even doing that. Like,
Right.
he's not saying, I don't even, he's saying, yeah, dude, look at this. Like, I'm wearing a hat. Like, let's go.
Right, and he shouldn't
doubling
have to.
down.
Like,
I love
people have called Kanye West a moron for years, but then when he has a moronic view that they disagree with, they're like, "Oh, this guy's lost his mind." Like,
Right.
do you care about his opinion or don't you? Apparently you do when it's inconvenient, but you don't when he's, calling whatever, Taylor Swift out on stage or whatever.
And full disclosure, I've called him an idiot in the past, I'm sure. I remember being really annoyed when he did the George Bush hates black people thing during Katrina. But you know what? I just think people grow, and this is exciting. I just think what he's doing is good for the country as a whole.
Right. Yeah, it's good just to show that it's okay to think a different way. And I personally don't give a flying shit what Kanye West thinks about politics or what Taylor Swift thinks about
Right.
politics. Like Taylor Swift gets called out for not being political, and then
Right.
Kanye West gets called out for being the wrong kind of political, and then somebody else gets called. Like, there's no right. So why do we care what they think anyway? They're not going to change what is. I mean, they might sway some votes, but do you like Kanye West music? Then go listen to Kanye West music.
Right. No, we just need to get to the point where we can like separate our politics from our person. Like
Yeah.
I think we've tribalized so much, balkanized is the word I like to use, where we feel like, oh, if I listen to this person's music, they better agree with me on stuff, and if they
Right.
don't agree with me, well then I just can't fathom it. And I think there's an issue more on the left because conservatives are pretty used to their musical and Hollywood idols.
If conservatives only
leftists.
listen to conservative people in music and entertainment, they'd be listening to
Oh,
like
gosh.
Springsteen, and that's about it.
No, Springsteen's a leftist too. You can't even listen to him. You'd have to listen to like Christian music and watch Christian
God
movies.
forbid.
And we know how that was. Check out your podcast from.
I've got a
long
couple.
time.
I've got a couple. Yeah.
So
So Kanye West, 2020.
2024. I think he likes Trump too much. Maybe he could replace Pence, and we'd have Trump West 2020. I'd be on board with it.
What would people do if Trump brought in just any black guy as his like vice president for 2020?
It can't be any, because I'll tell you what happens. Like you get someone like, the media is so conniving about this, I think, but whenever there's a strong black conservative, they do something to like demonize them or to make them look like Ben Carson.
Right,
I mean,
right.
they did everything they could to make him look stupid.
He's a retarded brain surgeon or whatever
Right.
he was.
He's a brain surgeon. He's obviously not stupid, but they did everything they could. I remember with Herman Cain, they tried to bring him down. They finally did, because I guess there was, a couple accusations of sexual harassment or something. Not to trivialize that, but they have to bring him down, right?
Right.
With Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court justice, if you look at this 20 years ago, there were false accusations against him of sexual misconduct. Anything they can do to bring down what the left would call like an Uncle Tom or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so that's why this is refreshing. They're going to try to bring Kanye down, but he's larger than life.
You
He's
cannot
Jesus.
bring Kanye down.
Okay. Like,
If Kanye could be brought down, how many chances did he have to get brought down that he survived through? And people keep buying
Right.
his records every single time. And he puts out like an album, every 4 years? And people are like,
He's
what
the
happened to that
Trump-
guy? Oh, he's back and he's the
Trump
best.
of rap music.
Right.
Like, you can't kill it. You can't. And the more you try, the more popular he's going to become. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm overreacting to this, but I think this is actually a significant moment in our body politic and how it's going to affect culture.
Yeah, it fills me with joy just to see somebody shaking it up. I mean, we've got back 10 years ago, Eminem was the go-to guy to shake up in politics and to be the guy who's like, no, it's all corrupt and these people like whatever the norm is, I'm going to go against that. I'm going to be the anti-establishment guy. Not that Trump's anti-establishment or anything, or even Kanye is, but now we've got Eminem at the BET giving like a frickin' slam poetry from.
An awful one, by the way. It was
slam poetry about
cringeworthy.
Trump. Yes, it wasn't even good anti-Trump, as most of them aren't. It was just like, he's orange, also he's a racist, and also F you guys. It's like, we live in a day where Kanye West is more politically controversial than Eminem. What's happening?
It's just weird. And it's just really weird, though, how this is something that's always bothered me is, the left has such control over entertainment, over a lot of our institutions, but yet they try to pretend they're the counterculture too.
Right.
But the reality is the counterculture is
they act like they're anti-establishment, and they're like totally establishment. They're saying what everybody can and can't think.
Right, exactly. What's countercultural is the idea of free thought, the idea of it being okay to disagree with the established, like what's acceptable.
Right.
And fascists hate that. The left hates that. And they hate that I call them fascists, by the way, because they've decided the word fascist means right-leaning.
Right.
No, it's fascist.
Well, the right,
Like,
a lot of the
they're
right don't.
Fascists.
A lot of the right get up in arms about people that speak about who use their freedom of speech to say things that they disagree with too.
For sure, they just don't have the power base to shut anyone up.
Right.
I mean, the reality is like, if I'm trying to think of an example, I can't off the top of my head. Do you have one? of like right wingers getting
It's been a while.
upset. I mean, what power do they have to really like stop like a left wing? Okay, Kathy Griffin. That's the
Right.
best example I have that I can think of recently. Like, oh, the right got up in arms and was like, hey, CNN, you need to fire her. Okay, so they can get a victory in shutting someone up
Mhm.
if they literally show a severed head of the current U.S. president. That's
Right.
their victory. But like, leftists say crazy things all the time, and the right is just kind of like, oh, well, what are we gonna do? I mean, free speech, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah, and I find it hilarious, like the left, and I say the left, like this is totally generalizing, and
oh, for sure.
our show isn't about generalizing. That's why we do the tripartisan thing. Which, if you guys want to hear more talks like this, we do where we have a libertarian, a Democrat, and a Republican on and debate some of these things. But what I find funny is that like extreme leftists, they're all about, words hurt. Words are
Violence.
words are violence, hate speech, and all that. But then in like their next tweet after that, they're saying literally kill Trump. Trump is a Nazi. It's like if you are literally saying that you want a government where you're legally not allowed to say your next tweet that you're about to say.
Well, that's just the thing. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Like historically, people are aware of recent fascist movements and recent genocides and that sort of thing. So it's not that fascism is dead. It's that obviously the next fascist movement is going to be raised under the guise of anti-fascism.
Right.
It doesn't make it not fascist, but it's this mentality that it's okay to be intolerant of people you deem intolerant. And it's okay to, be racist against people you think are racist, or any sort of thing, bigoted against people you think are bigoted. And it's really like this eye for an eye culture, and it's terrible. And again, Kanye West, Jesus, he's here to save us all.
Now, if Kanye West is Jesus and you're Jonye West, then would that make you Jesus?
Disciple?
That'd make
No,
you Jesus.
It does not make me any of those things.
John, how does your Kanye West support and love, how does that play into your religion as a Catholic?
Look, I think that everyone aspires to be a saint, and I think it is within reason, okay, that Kanye could still come to the church and become Saint Kanye. I'm rooting for it. I'm praying for it. I hope everyone else does too. He would be great.
So you don't think that his tweets have pushed him to the level of sainthood at this point?
No, that's not for me to judge, but probably not yet. He's working on it though.
All right. Well, final thoughts on Kanye West, John, or you could give the latest Kanye West tweet update, because I'm sure he's tweeted 5 things during this conversation.
All right. I'm just gonna read a couple, because this is actually, I mean, his overarching theme here is, I think, a good theme, and it's just about like loving one another. And oh my gosh, that's almost like Jesus. That's kind of weird.
Oh, John.
Oh dear. All right. We are more worried about what we can lose than what we feel. That's deep. All right. It's really cool to say I hate you, but it's not cool to say I love you. Love has a stigma. Instead of doing what you feel, you just do what other people think you should do. Your conscience should allow a physical manifestation of your subconscious, but right now, most people's conscious is too affected by other people's thoughts, and it creates a disconnect from you doing what you actually feel now. Like he's basic. I mean, it's interesting. He might be like a modern day like philosopher king. I don't know, man. I'm buying his book.
He has a book coming out?
I'm sure. I think he said he's working on like 5.
Of course he is. He's working on like he's gonna do a book tour, and there's gonna be like flashing lights and like a projection over him of like, I don't know, people dying in other countries or something bizarre as Kanye would do, and he'll be wearing like some sort of bejeweled mask the whole time.
Something like that. I mean, it sounds a lot like him.
Yeah.
No, man, he's just he's on another level of existence. Like, we're just here in the world, but Kanye, he's up above. Not up above, that far up above, mind you. Not at a deity level. Okay, just want to point that out.
Sort of angelic. And it's funny that we're reading all these really deep and inspiring quotes from him on his Twitter, but I could go read some of the lyrics off his last album, and I don't think we'd have the same reaction.
That's true. So we'll just avoid that uncomfortable conversation.
Well, it's funny because not only Chance the Rapper, who was like borderline, people thought, hey, this guy might be a Christian rapper or whatever. Maybe we'll accept him, maybe we won't. Freaking Kirk Franklin was on the opening to Kanye's last album, who's like old school gospel guy, and then you listen to the next track and it's like, oh, okay.
Dude, he's all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just, I don't know. It's crazy, man.
All right. Well, John, thanks for the Kanye update. Maybe we'll do this again if things continue to unfold. Otherwise, I will talk to you on the next Tripartisan Triggering. Thanks for being here.
All right. Sounds good, Dan. Talk to you later.
Yep. See ya. This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.